Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to the Friday night SRL TCR Season 7. I forgot what season we're on for a second then, but Season 7 of some fantastic racing. And, well, we're in for a treat now because we are in the back-to-back stages of the UK outings. Obviously, this week we're out here at Brands Hatch this evening, and then we go on to Donington Park next week for the final round of the season, round 8 of 8. See, this is round 7 of 8, but we are in the lovely city of Kent, and yeah, track length, as you can see on your screen, 3.89 kilometres. Temperature outside of 24 degrees C, which is probably about right for what we had today, maybe a little bit high. Altitude 131 metres, and yeah, we're in for two of the probably intense races that we've seen this season. It's going to be an interesting one, as this track does have some tricky sections in it, especially going through that famous turn 1. And I'm sure we'll be treated to some fantastic racing through there as the night rolls on. One thing is to mention, the top corner of the screen, you'll see the weather tab on this screen at the moment. You'll see 91% chance of rain. Now let's see how true that actually is, and see if it's going to cause any slip-ups for any of the drivers out there this evening. So let's look towards some of our racers out there at the moment then. So we're currently in the practice session. And in fact, before we go into that, obviously all in depth, let's bring you your points. And we'll roll through those as a group as well. So you can see at the moment, currently leading the way of the pros is Adam Delmont, then John Brown just in behind that, and Alpha Thurtle sitting on that P3, but not by much. Kimaranjo Bjorkland behind on 1 point, and then just a little bit beyond that is Will Lyon, who's dropped down into P5. Mark Draper on 344, and then Paddy Faulkner on 293. Dan Mould on 270, 239 for Andrew Lovesey, and Pete Newman on 217. So those are your pro standings, and on screen right now is Mr. Delmont as well, number 37 there in the Honda. Neil Stevenson leads the way for the Pro-Ams in 476 points, with Deck Crowther just in behind on 413, and Fraser Elphick on 371. Fraser Elphick moving up into that P3 spot. Fraser Garrity 365, Stephen Fry 355, then Alan McCain on 342. Cooper Akers, Connor Pearson and Craig Walters unfortunately will drop down to P7, 8 and 9. They are on 333, 320 and 282. Stuart Gibbons has not moved. The one of the few drivers that hasn't moved on that grid or on that lineup, and that is P10 overall for Mr. Gibbo, and he's on 242 there in P10. Wayne Douglas on 233, moving up to P11, swapping positions with Michael Toish, who's on 226, with Adam McNally rounding off the grid in P13 on 50 points. Looking down towards the AMs then, Kev Eilert sitting there on a juicy 291. Then we've got JB Deju on 280, who's overtaken Chris Barnes. I believe it was not last round, but round before that. And there's a 30-point gap between those two now. Chris Barnes on 250, Deju on 280. And then we have Paul Hurley on 239, then Carl Fleet on 213, Anthony Hilton on 190, Hilton Nickinson on 179, and Dan Lewis moving down, unfortunately, on 149. Same with Rob Williams, who's on 147, so close between those two, only 2 points apart. 122 for Scott Malcolm, and then we've got 83 for Ricardo Neto. Andy Littler on 27, Frank Sanchetti on 24, and Nick Kent still yet to score a point this season. So those are your point scorings this far then throughout this season. And it's still all up for grabs in a way. And I'm sure we'll be seeing some close racing throughout tonight for these points as well indeed. It's just going to be a moment of silence while I get my book ready and jot down some necessary things to bring to your attention. But while I do that, I'm going to put up a little QR code in the bottom right corner, so if you want to get yourselves in the SRL Discord and ask some questions and get ready for the new season, and maybe talk to some of the drivers as well, get to learn the TCRs, then please do scan that QR code. Feel free to jump in, but the commentary will go quiet for just a moment, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the commentary has returned for the last moment of this practice session before we get into tonight's racing. Just noting down some of the key details and some facts as well to bring to you, and obviously we need to jot down the results. And possibly, obviously, any questions we want to ask the drivers as well. So this is where I want to try and get you guys involved as well, watching at home. Obviously, if you have any questions for the drivers throughout tonight's racing, then please do jot them down in our YouTube chat. And myself or one of our team will make sure to take note of your question, and we'll fire it off to some of the drivers. So obviously, they can be person-specific, but obviously if they don't come forward for an interview, we cannot ask the question. But if you rather just ask a general question to any driver, please do feel free to note it down and let us know. So we just wait one moment before we head into the qualifying session. See, the weather has changed, and here we go. People are starting to leave the pits now. I think that's Chris Barnes. That is Chris Barnes leads the way. He's the first car out on track, and in fact what we're going to do is we're going to use Chris Barnes' car to bring us a little hot lap here. So we're going into the second corner of this circuit. Downhill towards the left hand, you've got to keep all the way over to the right hand side of the track as Barnes does mount a little bit of curb there on the inside and gets a lovely exit on the outside there. Still holding to the right hand side of the track before cutting in for a late apex. This turn does go on for quite a while. You can see there's a little bump in the rumble strip there, and people either tend to hit it or tend to sort of just get onto the rumble strips moments after they pass that. All the way down the long back straight towards the back end of the course now. A quick right-hander. Some drop down a gear, others don't. A light tap of the brakes to get the front end around, and towards the next two right-handers. So it's a triple right-hander for the back of the track. You can cut the corner just a little bit there on the inside. Just two wheels on the inside, no more, no less. And once again, there for that right-hand turn. It's very, very... you've got to be cautious around that corner, because you can get your wheels on the outside and onto the grass that drags you in. Unfortunately, you had to go a little bit wide there. You can take that inside line. It gives you a massive advantage out there, as you've seen from Wayne Douglas, who actually scored the overtake on Chris Barnes there. But I'm sure he won't mind too much having one car ahead of him, because that could give him a little bit of a draft advantage and possibly a line advantage as well. But that completes a lap of Brands Hatch. And here's Paddock Hill going into that quick right-hander downhill. Got to get the braking right, and especially getting on the accelerator again. Got to get that absolutely bang on to maximise turning through there. As you can see, line very similar for all cars marching through. This is a view from Surtees then on towards the back straight. What we'll do is we'll take that QR code back off the screen. Now, don't worry if you missed it and you just got your phone out, not to panic. It will be back a little later on in the evening. Through now to Dingledale, and here comes Wayne Douglas with Chris Barnes just behind. You can see how wide Wayne Douglas went there on the exit. Oh, wide there for the SRL car, SRL livery there as well. And speaking of SRL livery, into the wall. That's the first one of the evening. We got a fantastic view of that crash, in fact. And here's the last corner, Clark curve. A very quick right-hander onto the start-finish line. You can see how planted these cars really are as they go flying through into the corner with that max grip, pretty much is what it seems. As this man has taken the lead once more. Adam Delmont does get himself up quite early on in the qualifying session onto that P1 spot. Half a second in front of Chris Barnes. Chris Barnes putting in a very good time as well, it has to be said. Mark Draper just in behind that. Times are going to be coming in thick and fast now. Let's see who that is just behind. That's John Brown. Just as I thought it would be. Mr. Brown going around there in his normal SRL livery. There we go, that looks a little cleaner there on the bottom left. But ladies and gentlemen, obviously if you are joining us and you want to get involved a little bit, got any questions for any of our racers out there tonight, and you want your chance of asking them a question, please do feel free to do that. I would heavily encourage that, actually. So if you have a question, drop it into the YouTube live stream chat. Let us know what you would like me to ask the drivers come to the interviews. Obviously, try and keep it a general question, because there is a chance that if you have a question for a specific driver, then there's a chance they may not pop in for an interview. So if you can think of any general questions, do let us know, and one of our team in the YouTube chat will pick that up, and we'll get that noted down for the interview segment, obviously after race 2 here at Brands Hatch. Now we will have 23 cars out there. This is one of the cars at the moment that hasn't set a time. Number 26 of John Brown. 9 minutes left to go. And that's Stuart Gibbons that was going slow. No, I think that's Dick Crowther. Mr. Crowther, P4 overall. Solid finish, or position, sorry, not finish. Solid position so far for that 167 car. Blade design livery, wonderful livery as always, sticks out nice and bright amongst any league that him and his team are taking part in. Very distinct. Now we do have some liveries out there that really do stick out and stand out. Obviously SRL being one of the main ones, the main features. It is their league, but at the same time their livery sticks out no matter where you are, in officials, in the leagues, doesn't matter. Wherever you are, you notice that livery from a mile away. And speaking of that livery, this man is repping one of the SRL liveries. Here he is with the Union Jack on one wing mirror, the Italian flag on the other. Dan Mould pushes himself up into P2, exactly 2 tenths off of our leader of Adam Delmont. So racing between those two could get a little bit tight. There's obviously a little bit of breathing room between Delmont and Dan Mould for the timings, but that doesn't make a difference when it comes to the actual race. So when we're actually underway and racing, they're obviously going to be side by side, and Dan Mould, no doubt, is going to be right on to the rear end of Mr. Delmont as well. So yeah, I think Delmont's going to have to pull out something special to pull away from these guys here tonight. It's not going to be an easy job. We'll switch back to your leader, who's currently sitting right up behind Chris Barnes. He's actually had a little dab of the brakes there on the straight, which is not ideal for Delmont's time. So this won't be a quick lap, but no doubt he's going to get a couple more in before the end of the session anyway, and Chris Barnes looks to follow his line, as Barnes is currently the quickest AM out there on the course, and he is just ahead of Kev Arder, not by much, but those two have been battling it out all season long. So we do obviously have more races yet to come this season. I would bring you your battle box as always, but unfortunately we cannot do that because the battle box decided today of all days it doesn't want to work. So unfortunately we're going to have to be without the battle box here today. What we can do, though, is we can bring you your qualifying insights here. Obviously, you can see the course is split up into segments / sectors. They're looking for greens and purples. Purples are ideal. They're the quickest amongst all racers out there. Greens are on for a good time. Not the session best, but maybe a personal best. Yellows are basically bang on and or just below average. And then the reds, you're a little far off the pace. You need to pick it up. Scott Malcolm being the only car at the moment to not set a lap time. I'm sure he will do so very, very soon. Let's look towards this man. I didn't think we'd actually be seeing him this week. I thought last week was the final race we'd actually see him. Let's look and see how snappy that steering is. It's not that bad, actually. Not that bad at all, but Alpha Turtle is in unfamiliar territories, which is near the back of the grid. So I imagine that this man could well be using the old Xbox controller once again. And if he's not, I've offended him incredibly in one sentence. So there's a potential chance I will need an ambulance after this race. Obviously, within the next 4 minutes, so I can bring you the magic number that these guys need to aim for in race 1 to get that reverse grid pole position. And I can tell you this, it's a little higher than last week's one. Oh, there's a little bit of an off track there for Mr. Deju. I say a little off track. He was off the course for a good while or two there, but managed to keep the car rolling and maintain some form of pace. He's not too far off the back of Alpha Turtle. That's 6.21. Mr. Deju. Craig Walters almost putting in a quality lap time there. Paddy Faulkner getting a little purple midway through his lap. Turtle, mix of greens and yellows. Lovely colour combination. Violet at the minute, all in the yellows, trying to get in front of Chris Barnes, but I don't know if he's going to have enough to get the job done and sit in front of him on that qualifying position. One thing I haven't mentioned, and I'll probably get crucified for not doing so, so we best mention it now while it's in front of us, is Mr. Dan Mould has actually gone into P1, and he's done better than Delmont in terms of lap time and gone quicker. And he's currently on that provisional pole. 2.5 minutes or just thereabout to go before we get underway for Friday night racing once more here at the Brands Hatch Racing Circuit in Kent. A fantastic circuit, lots and lots of history. One that pops up quite a lot in multiple different series and events, and no doubt it will for many, many years to come as well. I believe Delmont just actually set a quicker lap time. And he's extended the gap between him and Delmont by ever so much, but that could be just enough to get that P1 that he so desires. And I think Delmont, yeah, at the minute, he's currently sitting behind Wayne Douglas. P4 for Wayne Douglas, lets him by. Now Wayne Douglas has a Fraser Elphick behind him, and I thought there was going to be a little fisticuffs between those two. I saw some flashing down the back straight, but cars aren't anywhere near close enough for any of that. question is, in the last minute or so, can Delmont do enough to get in front of Dan Mould? Dan Mould obviously feeling quite happy with his position and his time, gone into the pits. Can he do it? I don't think he has. Just wait for the time to roll in. No, he hasn't. 132.6. So it wasn't far off, but it wasn't enough to get the job done over Dan Mould, and he's not going to have enough time to complete another lap. So that does seal it for Dan Mould in P1. In a couple of seconds, it's going to wipe all the drivers off of the course, and we'll bring you your grid lineups. So here we are then. Dan Mould P1, Adam Delmont P2, Mark Draper P3, then we have John Brown P4, Wayne Douglas P5, Paddy Faulkner P6, and we have Fraser Elphick P7, Stephen Fry P8, Dec Crowther P9, Kim Andrew Bjorklund P10, Alan McCain P11, Craig Walters there in P12. Heading down the grid, we have Neil Stevenson P13, Alfred Turtle P14, Stuart Gibbons P15, Kev Ollett P16, Connor Pearson P17, Chris Barnes P18. Then we have JB Deju P19, Anthony Hilton P20, P21 Fraser Garrity, Paul Hurley P22, and Scott Malcolm P23. So that is your grid overall then for this first race. Just wait on the grid for all the drivers to join us. Let's focus on this man here. Dan Mould on P1, you can see there's a couple of gaps on the grid still. Just wait for those last cars to filter in. Join us. Five red lights are up and we're underway already. It was that quick. I look away for one split second and all the red lights have been up and underway and we're gone. And into turn one goes Dan Mould with some confidence there. Car going sideways almost, and that's Mark Draper in P3. Trying to go up alongside Adam Delmont. Didn't quite work out for him, and Delmont can't get the move done either to push up any further. And Wayne Douglas comes out the better of a nearly 3 wide into turn 2 there, as he sits P4 overall. Fraser Elphick currently in a nice sized gap between Paddy Faulkner and Stephen Fry, but that'll soon close up as Kim Andrew Bjorklund is closing in from behind as well. These guys still going 2 cars wide, almost 3 wide there, as you can see Walters in the middle. Then we've got the Halfords car of Connor Pearson on the inside, JB Deju on the outside, and JB Deju does have to slot in just beyond that, but Fraser Garrity and Craig Walters there, Fraser Garrity, sorry, and JB Deju are the 2 side by side. Craig Walters just in front of these 2, kind of sitting in the middle of the pack, or middle of the park, just to keep these 2 cars at bay. And not going to be an easy job to do. Defending 1 car around here is bad enough, but defending 2 is not going to be easy at all. Fraser Garrity sitting P20 overall at the moment. We do seem to have all cars on the grid. This is P23, Paul Hurley. Smoke's just up ahead. Watch out for the danger. There's a rejoining car there. Chris Barnes on the inside of JB Deju. And there's contact there between Deju and Chris Barnes. 2 cars had an awful coming together there, and that's a very early end to the race for Chris Barnes. Let's have a little look back on what went on here. So he goes up the inside, does Chris Barnes. And then he's kind of taken his line, and JB Deju's there on the outside. Both cars have a coming together, which unfortunately sends Chris Barnes off the course. Back with the live action at the moment then. Stephen Fry at the moment. Kim Andre Bjorklund going side by side towards the back straight. We've got two double left-handers before we head on to that rear straight on this circuit. And Stephen Fry once more going side by side with Kim Andre Bjorklund. Goes for the switchback, makes contact with the back of Kim's car, but ends up coming out side by side and with the advantage on the back straight. There's a little bit more contact there. I'd say there's a bit more net code, if I'm honest, because I didn't see the cars physically connect. But obviously you can see the little bounce back reaction from each other as Kim Andre Bjorklund has the advantage up the inside line on the quick right-hander, going into the second right-hander out of 3 in the back of this circuit. And he does take the initiative and the advantage and pushes on through. Deck Crowther just in behind these two that are battling out at the moment. And the more these two slow each other up, the better it'll be for Mr. Deck Crowther, currently sitting in that P10 overall, rounding off your top 10, as we say when we bring you your results. But a fine start for the Blade Designs team. As you can see, Stuart Gibbons just in the background of the pictures there. He's only a couple of cars away from his teammate, who's just up the road. In that number 47 there, sitting just in front of Mr. Arthur Thurtle, who's being a nuisance, as always, in the mirrors, and trying to go up around the outside of Stuart Gibbons into turn 1. That's not going to be an easy thing to do, especially on a controller. If he is on a controller, I imagine he is. But that is something we may need to confirm with him after the racing has finished this evening, as you can see Thurtle is going side by side with Kev Eilert there, and Stuart Gibbons was going heavily wide but manages to hold the car nicely, and Arthur Thurtle does disappear momentarily, but we'll get him back in just a moment, no doubt. There he is once more. He's on the inside of Stuart Gibbons, and he's gone by, and I think there could be a bit of reluctancy to move around there for Stuart Gibbons, because obviously with the flashing of the car, you never know where that car is going to pop up. Now he is stuck behind Mr. Arthur Thurtle. A lot of bump drafting all the way down the back straight. You can see the grass kicking up between these two as they battle on further around this course. Craig Walters going side by side as well with Connor Pearson, and this is an interesting battle because the car that's in P17, which is Craig Walters at the minute, or was, yeah, it still is Craig Walters. P17 is your magical number. So P17 is the P1 for the second race, and Craig Walters is going to drop out of that battle as he went off track, managed to regain control, but then bounced off track again and is flashing into the mirrors of Connor Pearson and those cars just ahead. And looks like Paul Hurley is not having the best of days here today, as he sees an off-track early doors in this race. As we jump back towards Fraser Garrity then, who's at the minute putting the pressure on Connor Pearson, not realising that he's currently sitting in that reverse grid P1, but obviously you don't want to settle for that. Still just under 15 minutes to go of this racing session. So there's a lot of time to try and hold on to a position that you can't guarantee is going to do any good for you. You know, it's nice to start P1, but you never know what will happen, especially at Brands Hatch, because everything can change so quickly. Speaking of quick changes, look at the gap between these guys. Mark Draper, P3, 3 seconds behind the battle for P1. Here it is. In fact, I want to do as little coverage on Dan Mould as I possibly can, and there's a reason behind that. The commentator's curse is real, and the amount of times I've covered some of these races that have involved Dan Mould, and the moment I say something about how well he's doing, something goes wrong. So we're going to steer away from that, and we're going to talk about Mr. Delmont and try and jinx as much as possible Delmont's race. Not that there's any bias in here at all, but Mr. Delmont is dominating this season. He's absolutely flying around in most circuits, just sheer pace and good old willpower to get himself along and across the line in P1 in pretty much almost every race we've seen this season, to be fair. But no, I do feel for Delmont a little bit. Luck has not been on his side this season, and I don't want to be the one to change that, so that's why we're going to try and not jinx his race too much. So let's jump back to Craig Walters at the minute, who's still in amongst the battles. It may be for P19, but nonetheless he's still in amongst it, and it doesn't matter where you're fighting on the field. If you're fighting, a fight is a fight at the end of the day. If you can attack or defend, it's It's the same value as attacking or defending up the top of the field. You know, there may be a points difference in it, obviously between P19 and P1, but nevertheless it's still the same enjoyment level. Trying to score the overtake on the car ahead. Never the easiest thing to do, and it does take a hell of a driver to get some moves done on these guys around what have been some tricky circuits this season, I have to say. And as we've seen, some cars have really struggled with it, others have really thrived. One being obviously Adam Delmont, who's thriving massively this season, and same with this man who's currently on your screen, Kev Eilert, doing a fantastic race and fantastic season in the AMS indeed. And I'm sure he'll love to carry that on as far as he possibly can, and ensure that he's in for a good end of the season with plenty of stuff yet to come. As we now see the gap between your leader and Mr. Delmont is 0.3 of a second. That's roughly the same gap between P2 and P3. So not much between the top groups at the moment. But these two are long gone. 3.5 seconds up the road now from Mark Draper and Wayne Douglas. Mark Draper has got the better of Wayne Douglas though. Scored the overtake. Now obviously Mark Draper overtaken Wayne Douglas. So something that we didn't see on the broadcast. So let's bring that to you now and see exactly how he did it. So we're heading up towards the back straight there. You can see Wayne Douglas gets his braking a little bit off and it slows him right down in the corner and then up the back straight. You can see that Mark Draper does have that momentum advantage. Slots himself right in front of Douglas's car there and he's not able to get the position back. And that is how it all unfolded a couple of moments ago. Craig Watt was still in amongst it. We keep jumping back to him because he's just not letting JB Deju's car go. He's holding on with everything he possibly has. So let's jump towards the middle of the pack then. Alan McCain at the moment chasing down Deck Crowther. And to show you exactly where these cars are on track and how they're getting on, there is your track map. So you can see there is definitely some space in between certain cars out there and then the rest not so much. Well, John Brown has dropped down one position since his starting grid place. John Brown qualified P4 and now sitting overall P5. But as it stands, Dan Mould and Delmont haven't moved from their starting positions. Mark Draper also the same. John Brown and Wayne Douglas have switched. So out of the top 5, the only two to have moved positions are John Brown and Mr. Wayne Douglas. Once more, these two come ever so close again. And we've just gone over the halfway point. Now, the pressure is on for both these races, but it'll be more on for your leader than it will Adam Delmont. So he'll just see it as another day in the office, and he'll try and get that move done on your leader. Probably nearer to the end rather than now, just to decrease the chance of Mould getting the comeback drive on. And what a comeback drive that would be as well, but it'll be interesting to see what the game plan is here. I would be waiting and biding my time to overtake a little later on in the session, so there's no form of comeback. However, Delmont likes to have fun. He's a racing driver. If he sees a gap, he's going for it no matter what. Let's jump back down to Kev Eilert then, who's at the moment trying to take the fight to Arthur Thurtle. You can see there's on the outside of your screen. Let's jump towards Mr. Thurtle and have our focus all on him. now. Ideally what we need to be, there we go, we're on the right side now, on the rear suspension of Mr. Thurtle's car, and you can see we do have Kev Eilert, the leader of the AMS at the moment, just up behind. Not much time between the two. Potentially move coming up very, very soon. Now what we'll do is we'll show you at the top of your screen then, you'll see the leaders for each class. So you've got Dan Mould leading the way for the pros and overall of the race. Wayne Douglas in the Pro-Am category. He is currently leading that Pro-Am category. Here he is on your screen at the moment. And we do have Kev Eilert at the minute in the middle of a sandwich, but he is leading his class in that 111 P14 overall. And obviously don't forget that here he is, Mr. Craig Walters. P17, he has the magical position that is needed for that P1 reverse grid. Stuart Gibbons, I thought, was looking for a move on the inside of Kev Eilert. Didn't go for it in the end, but probably wise not to get the draft up the back straight. But guys, don't forget, if you have joined us recently, if you want to ask any of these drivers a question, maybe not a driver-specific question, but if you want to ask them a general one to any driver that takes an interview with us tonight, please do let us know what your question is in our YouTube chat, and one of our team will get to that, and we'll pass it on to the drivers to answer in one of our destined interviews after this racing this evening. JB Deju in the magical position, but under attack from Scott Malcolm. You can see there on the outside of your screen, now heading towards the inside line as they come around into the quick right-hander onto the start finish straight. JB Deju does currently hold the holy grail in terms of reverse grids. P1, Brands Hatch. I mean, could you really ask for any more? Let's be honest. It's not every day that you can turn around and say, I was on P1 at Brands Hatch in the touring cars. That's a combination that's very rare to reach the lips of any driver, really. But Stuart Gibbons is not letting hopes die, as he is taking the fight to Kev Eilert, and Kev has obviously held fantastic pace throughout the season and done a fantastic job as well, leading the AMS and I would say dominating, but at the same time I think Chris Barnes and JB Deju have actually given Kev Eilert a really good run for his money, and it looked easy to start with, but then they really upped their game and took the fight to him. And there's a car off just up ahead. That's Stephen Fry with the bright pink rims. You can see Alpha Thurtle getting all stuck up on the rear of Stephen Fry's vehicle there. You can see Kev Eilert flashing just in the background. Does he get by? He doesn't get by that time. That's going to bring Stuart Gibbons right onto the back of his car. And it's probably going to anger him just a little bit as well, being trapped by the 35 there and inevitably slowed down as well. As they look to go over the start-finish line once more, leading into the last 4 minutes of the race. We'll see a lap time around here is about 1 minute 30 odd, so we'll be looking at 2 laps here to go, or roughly 2 if my brain is working, but then again it's just switched off just as I try and work that out and think about that. It's always nice to know that you have a brain that just doesn't work. It's Alan McCain and Alan McCain and Neil Stevenson, sorry, were taking the fight to each other there, 1/10 between the two. Sorry, I got really confused about the battle box. I didn't know who was battling who then, but Alan McCain and Neil Stevenson still taking the fight to each other. A bit of a gap between the two now at the end of the back straight there, leading on to the second of 3 right-handers in the Ignium Motorsport 16 car there. The Hyundai. Hyundai versus Hyundai. The Elantra versus the Veloster. Two fantastic cars, and I have to admit, I do prefer the look of the Veloster. It's a very nice looking car, very pleasing on the eye. Stuart Gibbons within touching distance of the car ahead of Kev Eilert. Not too far at all, but remember, Craig Walters is just on the rear end there, and Kev has actually slowed down on the start-finish line. And he's letting almost everyone by. JB Deju having to go, or being shown the outside line. And I think Kev is more focusing on winning his class rather than his overall position. He's currently P16 and holding up Mr. Deju at the moment. And letting Craig Walters and Stuart Gibbons fight. I think maybe he's taking a bit of the pressure off of himself with Stuart getting up so close behind him. And to save him panicking or worrying about anything, he's backed off, let the cars through, and focusing on the battle that means the most to him, which is that class win. Dan Mould, Mr. Batman, with the Batman logo on the rear of his car. Car number 80, currently leading the way, 3/10 ahead of Adam Delmont. As we're on the gyro cam here, you will see the white flag of Barney going out. So this is do or die now for Dan Mould. He knows this is what it comes down to. There he is, your leader. Heading up to turn 2, uphill, round the right-hander, which is a sharp right-hander. Now heading downhill, getting every little bit of momentum he possibly can to keep him away from Delmont. But these two have been locked hip to hip all race long. 80 versus 37. Hyundai versus Honda. Honda on the outside, and Delmont looks to try and get around the outside of Mould, but he doesn't do so in the end. Positions stay as they were, 1 and 2. Dan Mould still leads the way for this second race. That's one of 3 right-handers along the back half of this course. There is number 2. Dan, there's not long left to go now, and I've tried not to speak about you too much this race. Bring it home, and you can release all the unlucky results and racing earlier this season and celebrate it on UK soil at Brands Hatch, potentially, as Delmont looks towards the inside, doesn't manage to get up the inside. Delmont defends it very well indeed. Has he defended himself from a switchback? He has done so. He clips right onto the inside. Delmont onto the inside grass there as they come across the line, P1 and P2. So Delmont does get that win in the end. And it does, I feel like that would relieve a little bit of stress from Dan Mould for bringing that win home after some early bad luck this season, and high stress as well with some of the chaos that we had, just being on the wrong end of the situation, sometimes the wrong place at the wrong time, unfortunately for Mr. Mould. But obviously that all changed today, where he's the right place at the right time at all times, as we wait for the final few cars to come across the line. Fraser Garrity being one of them, Paul Hurley a little bit further back, but that'll give me a chance just to note down your winners for today's first race. Obviously race 2 coming up, so don't go anywhere. We'll bring you your results in just a moment. So what we'll do now is we'll bring you your results, seeing as all the cars have now crossed the grid. And here we are then. So Dan Mild finishes P1, and Adam Delmont P2, Mark Draper P3, Wayne Douglas P4, John Brown P5, Paddy Faulkner P6, Kim Rangy Bjorkland P7, Fraser Elphick P8, and Derek Crowther P9. Alan McCain rounds off your top 10. Neil Stevenson P11, Arthur Thurtle P12, Stephen Fry P13, Stuart Gibbons P14, Craig Walters P15, and Kev Eilert P16 overall. Scrolling down the grid, then we have JB Deju P17, and we have Scott Malcolm P18, and Fraser Garrity P19, Paul Hurley P20, Connor Pearson P21, Anthony Hilton P22, and Christopher Barnes P23. So obviously now we are into that 5-minute cooldown / warm-up period. So this is the best time to either scan the QR code on screen, or you can go to the toilet and get a drink if you need one. Get ready for 25 minutes of fantastic racing yet to come, with JB Deju leading the way, P1 on that reverse grid, P17. Commentary will resume in just a few minutes' time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic first race we had. Just under a minute left to go then until our second race. We'll bring you your reverse grid results, and we'll have those come up for you very, very soon indeed. But obviously, don't forget you can scan that QR code in the bottom right corner of your screens right now, and that will give you the link to the Discord for the SRL channel, and to see all the leagues and sessions they have going on, including TCRs and a few other events that have been spoken about as well. So if you want to get yourselves involved and find out what SRL have up their sleeves and what they have going on when as well, you can do so. Just scan away with your phone, open up your camera on your phone, on any smartphone. Just click and hold on the when you're in the camera onto the QR code itself, and that should hopefully come up, and some phones do it automatically as well, so just aim your camera at the QR code and magic things should happen and it'll take you to where you need to be. Obviously, if you don't have Discord, you can easily sign up for an account. It's completely free and you can get yourselves in there and start talking to some of the drivers and asking some questions to either myself, some of the racers, or anyone else to do with the sessions and the league. So what we'll do is we'll bring you your grid for race 2. JB Deju leads the way with Kev Eilert P2, Craig Walters P3, Stuart Gibbons P4, Stephen Fry P5, Alpha Thurtle P6, Neil Stevenson P7, Alan McCain P8, Deck Crowther P9, Fraser Elphick P10, Kim Andre Bjorkman P11, Paddy Faulkner P12. Then going down the grid we have John Brown P13, Wayne Douglas P14, Mark Draper P15, Alan Delmont P16, Dan Moll P17, Scott Malcolm P18, Fraser Garrity P19, Paul Hurley P20, Connor Pearson P21, Anthony Hilton P22 and Chris Barnes P23 overall. As we need to head down probably fairly quickly, to be fair. And you can see the lights there are getting up and they are getting ready, and we are underway here. The 23 cars are off. In fact, not 23, 21 cars are off. Anthony Hilton and Chris Barnes did not make the starting grid. Barney waving his green flag there, and you can see the blue, gold and white of Kev Eilert has taken the lead just ahead of JB Deju. Just behind that we have Stuart Gibbons and Craig Walters going side by side through turn 1. The lower sun level in this second race here is actually proving very nice on the paint jobs of some of these cars as they go around here on their opening lap. Mixing it up, going 2 by 2. Bit like Noah's Ark this corner at the moment, as these guys are going side by side throughout it. And not having any regrets doing so either, because those that dare to do are coming out on top, really. And Paddy Faulkner P12 at the moment. Loads of SRL liveries behind him, and that's something he needs to watch out for. As Fraser Elphick takes the initiative and sees the open door, takes it and heads up on the inside there. So you can see their car's going 3 wide as we see Mark Draper getting a bit of a rear ender from Dan Mould there. Hopefully that doesn't cause too much issue on the front end of Mould's car, as he has dropped back just a little bit, possibly due to the lack of momentum through that back segment there after the contact with Mark Draper. You can see the rear end of Draper's car there getting a bit pushed up after that contact, which was inevitable. You know, there was if contact happens, you know, there's going to be something left on the car that's not going to be ideal. It did say that Alpha Thurtle was out just then. I think he's having some blinkage issues again. Downward looking to try and hold his line through the middle of the circuit, and does so indeed, and sits just in front of those cars of Connor Pearson and Scott Malcolm as they go 3 wide into turn 2. And the score between those 3 changes, and there's an Ignium sports car there off in the distance. That's Neil Stevenson, unfortunately facing the wrong way. John Brown now in amongst it and under pressure. Connor Pearson on the inside of him in that Halfords livery car, something that's very recognisable and stands out a lot in this series indeed. As Connor Pearson still takes towards the inside line there. And you can see John Brown has come down a few positions. It said P14 on the side of his car. Obviously, he's not there at the moment. Dropping down 3 positions. He's P17 is the 26. As he marches on through this course once more. 8 tenths between your leader and P2. JB Deju and Kev Eilert trading places on the start grid. Kev Eilert goes flying around this circuit, way out in the lead. Nothing to worry about as of yet, but let's have a little look down the grid. And here he is in P14. This is the man with all the pace this season, and has he got anything in the tank to get this race win? It's going to be a challenge from P14, surely. Yes, there is still over 20 minutes to go, but it's not going to be easy getting past packs like the one just ahead of him that Paddy Faulkner is involved in at the minute with Fraser Elphick and Mark Draper. And these are the long queues that it causes, but easy 2 positions gained there for Adam Delmont, as he's seen Mark Draper and I think that's Fraser Elphick having a little bit of a squabble and a bit of contact there, which slows both cars down. And Delmont does take the incentive to have both positions given to him basically for free up towards the back straight. Number 37 slowly cruising his way to the top. Speaking of getting their way to the top, Craig Walters, P3, that bottom step of the podium. Well, the middle step is at risk at the moment. JB Deju needs to keep an eye on those mirrors and try and stop Mr. Walters from coming by. Not an easy job to do, nonetheless. I'm sure he has the capability to give it a good old go and stop the impending attacks from those coming up behind as well. You can see Craig Waters looking towards the inside line there into Paddock Hill Bend. Doesn't get the move done. Deck Crowther also was very close to Kim Andre Bjorkland going through turn 1 there. John Brown closing the time down to Scott Malcolm just up ahead of him. He's obviously dropped down a few positions now. Was up into P14 and unfortunately dropped down 4 car positions since then. Currently sitting behind the number 48 of Scott Malcolm onto the back straight. Can he get the drafting advantage and stick his nose up on the inside of the corner if possible? Deck Crowther once more comes close to Kim Andre Bjorkland's rear end there. Not much between the two at all. A couple of tenths now, but it was down to as low as a tenth and a half. A good finish for Deck Crowther in race 1 as well. P3 in his class. So a fantastic Pro-Am finish there for himself. Alan McCain just in behind that and trying to catch up to the rear end of Deck Crowther, but Kim Andre Bjorkland now ties himself into the battle just ahead of him with Wayne Douglas and Arthur Thurtle. Thurtle going around the outside, contact between the two, I believe. Door bashing as expected through that corner as they go side by side once more into turn 2. And the battle now is Thurtle and Bjorkland. But Bjorkland had to settle in behind, but he's gone for a switchback, and what a switchback that is indeed. That puts him on the inside line, and Thurtle unable to defend that line now, as that's all gone into Bjorkland's hands, and unfortunately Thurtle can't get the switchback on him, because he's stuck himself towards the outside line, but he's not even side by side with Bjorkland, so he doesn't have to worry about that one too much, as he slowly brings himself over to Thurtle's side of the course before digging in to the inside line for the right-hander. And already that 5 minutes that we did have extra has already lapsed and been and gone, and they won't get that back again. So make the most of the time you have out there now, ladies and gentlemen, because it's coming thick and fast for you as Paddy Faulkner finds out with attacks impending from Adam Delmont, and successful at that as well, as Adam Delmont does move through into P11 now overall. So 10 more cars to go until things get really interesting for Mr. Delmont. But remember, this is a second to last round, so these guys are still playing for anything and everything, as we have just ahead Arthur Thurtle making this a 3-wide battle, and Deck Crowther says no thank you, and goes on the brakes a little bit later into turn 1 there. Doesn't want to send that 3 wide there. Bit too early, and possibly a bit too of a nerve-wracking move to commit to this early on. John Brown at the moment up the inside line against Scott Malcolm. Has he finally got the job done on Mr. Malcolm there onto the back straight? Malcolm does have that inside on the kink of the back straight there, but John Brown is going to find himself on the outside line once more. Can he get an ultimate switchback like what we just saw Kimondre Bjorklund do to Mr. Thurtle? He does look to go back onto the inside line. There's a car off there. I think that's Mark Draper. There he is, back onto your screen and then off again as he's struggling to bring that car back on track. And looks like another car going slow there as well. And that will be Mr. Fraser, I believe. Fraser Elphick. No, not Elphick. Not Paul Hurley. Garrity. There we go. I knew it was a Fraser. Fraser Garrity going very slow on course there. Possibly involved in that situation with Mr. Draper. They're battling out earlier in this race. So no doubt they had a little bit of a coming together at some point to cause the two cars to trade some paint and both slow down and lose some positions as John Brown does take the inside line, gets a position done, moves up into P15, almost back to his position that we saw him at earlier, which was P14, but it's not going to be easy doing that and holding it, as we do see attacks coming in from the cars behind. Now there's a bit of a change up top then, as Deju does drop down from P2. And he's now on that bottom step of the podium, but possibly not for much longer. Stuart Gibbons and Stephen Fry both sniffing around for a chance to get on that bottom step of the podium. What a fantastic race too that would be for either one of those two. Two names we don't see on the podium a lot, but it'll be a fantastic momentum going into the final round for either of those guys to get their feet onto that podium and taste the champagne in the ceremony after. As JB Deju is putting some time now between himself and Stuart Gibbons, as Wayne Douglas is fighting out with Stephen Fry currently. And in fact, it's not even Wayne Douglas fighting out, it's now Kimondre Bjorklund and Stephen Fry battling out between each other. And just as I say that, they stop going two cars wide and end up going single file instead. So it seems to be like I'm just giving everyone a commentator's curse of some sort and not letting anyone race and enjoy themselves. So I apologise, I seem to be jinxing everything tonight. For anyone watching live or watching this back, obviously don't forget, if you have any questions for the drivers and you want to get them in and let us know for any interviews, don't make them driver specific, try and make them general, because then in case the driver you want us to ask the question who doesn't come in, we can ask it to someone else as well. So if you've got any general questions, do get yourselves involved. I'd love to get you all involved, see you all asking your questions, and me or one of the team can pick those up and we can pass them over on the interview and see what the drivers have for you in terms of answers. Well, let's see what answers Delmont can bring out then, because he's being questioned on whether he wants that P8 enough that he can keep Deck Crowther in behind him in that 167. He's doing so at the minute. He's putting time between the two already, as Kimondre Bjorklund now getting asked questions on whether he can defend against Delmont, and that's not going to be an easy job at all. Kimondre Bjorklund P7 at the moment, heading towards the left-hander before we get on to the final lengthy straight. Then on to the quick right-hander onto the start-finish line. Going under the Yokohama Bridge into the final right-hander of the lap, and number 35 there of Stephen Fry on the inside line going slowly. Slow down Delmont there possibly, only by a little bit. Delmont having to take the outside line, and I think that's going to cost Deck Crowther rather than anyone else time through that turn one there, as he really did have to take a wide line just to try and keep his momentum up and keep on race pace. Alan McCain and Dan Mould side by side. Dan Mould has the inside line, and McCain looks to switch in but can't do so, and inevitably backs out just ever so slightly to give Dan Mould that position. But safe racing nonetheless between those two. (13.5 minutes gone, 12 left in this racing session, and already is absolutely flying by. We're nearly into the last 10 minutes of the race, which is crazy if you think about it, because it feels like we've only just begun. So these cars probably only just getting up to temperature about now, and already we're looking at finishing off the race going into the last 10 minutes. But we've got to always look on the bright side, and looking on to the bright side, we do have one more round left to go this season. As JB Deju says, he doesn't want many more rounds, he just wants that podium spot. Sits in P3, currently Wayne Douglas close in behind that. Now let's do what we've done before. Let's show your class leaders at the top of your screen. Then Kev Arlett leads away for the AMs and overall of the race, believe it or not. And Craig Walters, Pro-Am, leading the way for his class. As you can see there, JB Deju does concede the position to Wayne Douglas, who does push up in front. Let's look at the cars then. So there he is, Kev Arlett leading the way for the AMs and overall. Fantastic race for him so far. Craig Walters P2, but P1 for his class. And then going a bit further down the grid for the pros, it's Kim Andrew Bjorklund currently fighting out for that P4 position. And not going to be an easy job to do with the amount of cars he's got all around him. As you can see, they're going 2 by 2 into these right-handers. Here you've got Stephen Fry and Stuart Gibbons. And then you've got Dan Mould and Dec Crowther as well, all battling it out in that group of cars there. You can see wide a little bit there for Stuart Gibbons, and we're going to see teammate v teammate, or is Gibbons going to let Dec Crowther through? Is it going to be the other way around? Dec Crowther's going to let Stuart Gibbons go up the road a little further. Team strategy in play here, possibly. Let's see what happens. Alan McCain has to make his way past a Blade Designs roadblock, and doesn't look like he's going to do so on both of the cars, but he certainly will give it a go on Stuart Gibbons, who's got to deal with the pressure of Alan McCain now, who's on the outside line of Mr. McCain. Can he keep his car in front and sort of cut in just a little bit further than what you normally would? And he does cut in, but not enough, but he manages to keep the position and shuts me up. So P10 overall at the moment for Stuart Gibbons, but he's still on the outside line. If he can hold it through this turn, this could be massive, and unfortunately no, he doesn't. Back end gets a little bit squirrely, and in fact he's going to lose 3 positions within 2 corners, as Alpha Turtle also takes the advantage and moves up the field. Plenty of movement now between Bjorklund and Delmont here. Delmont around the outside. Bjorklund really didn't want to let him through. Those cars were leaning on each other throughout the corner, as Delmont does make his way into P4. Roger Bjorklund P5, but they don't want to let each other race. They're still going at it even down the back straight at the minute. Alan McCain and Paddy Faulkner, I thought were going to come in side by side through that quick right hander. Didn't do so in the end. Here he is then, Delmont P4. He's pushing his way up the field. 3.5 seconds though to the next car. There's some big gaps coming up and not much time left to go. 8 minutes or just under that now. Before the end of the race to get the job done. Obviously he had a fantastic race in race 1. As we look towards Connor Pearson at the minute in that Halford's livery, he's trying to attack Arthur Thurtle. Oh, we had a car off there in the background. I took a guess and got it right. It's Stuart Gibbons, unfortunately, going off. I did see a flash of orange, and it was a 50-50 on who it could possibly be, as we were watching Connor Pearson, so it wouldn't have been his car. Stuart Gibbons is on the outside line now, and can he defend that position that he has against Fraser Garrity? Doesn't look like he's going to be able to through the apex of the corner, but these two still side by side. As you can see, Garrity moves right out of the way to give Gibbons all the space he possibly can down the back straight. these two still almost side by side and corner to corner as they come into the back segment of the track. Let's jump up to Mr. Crowther on the back end of this train at the moment then. Just behind Stephen Fry, Dan Mould and JB Deju. So just above that we have Kim Andrew Bjorkland and Adam Delmont. And a bit further up the field as well, Wayne Douglas just on the back of Craig Walters. And there is your leader, Kev Eilert. Once more, and for the final time tonight, we bring up the track map, and this track map will show you exactly where everyone is and exactly what happens between these two as they still go side by side over the start finish line, and I'm sure they're loving life at the moment, racing this closely around an entire lap of Brands Hatch as they go side by side still through turn 1 into turn 2. They switch, and Stuart Gibbons goes towards the inside line, manages to defend it really well, and puts a little bit of breathing space between the two cars, and this time it's not between driver and passenger door, it's between back bumper to front bumper. So top quality move there from Stuart Gibbons, and that lands him a lovely position there as well. P16 overall, Fraser Garrity with that magic number from race 1. He's currently in P17. That was the position needed for the reverse grid. As Paddy Faulkner looks to got the inside of Stephen Fry, and Stephen Fry going a little wide there off track, and unfortunately loses out a position as well to Alan McCain, who takes the initiative and moves up. John Brown and Alpha Thesel battling out. John Brown on the inside. Smoke kicks up from John Brown's car. He has enough grip though to keep the momentum going. Now on the outside of the left-hander, heading down towards the start-finish line then under the Yokohama Bridge. John Brown still on the inside line against Thurtle. Thurtle bringing that car in nice and quick on the outside just to keep the thing off the grass. He does just enough. They're still going to be side by side. It's just like watching Stuart Gibbons' battle with Fraser Garrity just a moment ago, as these two still side by side leaning towards turn 1. Is Thurtle going to hold it towards the outside? He certainly does so. Do we see that switchback just like we saw in the battle with Gibbo? And, oh, I thought we might see it then, but he didn't go for it in the end, Thurtle, and let John Brown march on through. There goes the number 26 through on goal, and further up the field he moves. Wayne Douglas at the minute, P2, but fighting out between P2 and 3, as Craig Walters was side by side, now corner to corner, as they go down the back straight. Now we're into the last 3 and a bit minutes. So Kev Eilert only has 3 or so minutes to bring home this win, and it looks very positive at the minute. 2.6 seconds up the road. 1/10 splits these two guys at the moment. It looks like Deck Crowther is having, I was going to say a lot of fun at the minute, bouncing between positions and fighting it out, but in fact he was off track as we jumped to him, and loads of dirt was kicking up here, there and everywhere as these guys go into that left-hander. Just ahead, these guys were taking a bit of chaos, and once again, Deck Crowther turned himself into a John Deere lawnmower, and just ensuring that the grass is the correct level. We don't want it cut too short. Whatever next, we're going to have to get some Miracle Grow on that if not, and try and bring it on back again. Conor Pearson looks towards the inside line in that Halfords Castrol livery. Holds the inside line into turn 1, down the downhill. Has enough grip in the Audi, does Deck Crowther, to keep it on the outside line and keep the pressure on Conor Pearson, who's trapped on the inside at the moment. Always hard to keep your car on the outside and keep it side by side through turns 2 as well, as Deck Crowther looked to try and do that, but unfortunately wasn't able to do so, and inevitably concedes the position to Conor Pearson to come and put the pressure on much more. Man we haven't covered much of in race 2 after a fantastic race 1 victory, and this man Dan Mould is on the back of Craig Walters' battle for P5 at the moment, but we are heading into what I believe is our final lap. Whew, that was a quick rush to the old mute button for the lovely hay fever there, so thank you very much for that. Here's Alan McCain's view onto the back of Stephen Fry. You see the white flag out there towards the outside line for Alan McCain. He's not going to get round though, possibly look towards a switchback on the back of that 35 car there. Adam Delmont within touching distance of a P2 finish, and 2 races in P2. Now that would be a fantastic set of points for Delmont, who surely will wrap the title up any moment. As he comes down onto the back straight, number 37 in P3. 1/10 is all that splits the two. Deck Crowther having fun once more with Connor Pearson and JB Deju. At the moment, he's in that sandwich between those two cars there. Into the last 30 seconds of official racing, and that time will be more or less gone as these cars do come across the line. Kev Eilert leading the way. You can see 2 seconds ahead of Wayne Douglas, who's really closing down that time. I think the pressure from Delmont is really sort of kicking that car into another gear as they come up towards the start-finish straight. Now, has Delmont got the advantage over him? Can he get the move done? Has he got the momentum around the outside line? He does. Oh, there's contact between the two. Oh, Wayne Douglas held it just. He just about held it as they come across the line, and Kev Eilert does get the race victory. Delmont P2 and Wayne Douglas P3. Now it'll be interesting to see what Wayne Douglas has to say at the end of that one there. As we just wait for the final car to come across the grid. Fraser Garrity, there he is, nice and slowly, giving me plenty of time to get ready for the results. In fact, he I believe he's ran out of fuel, his car broke there right at the very end. Nevertheless, let's bring you your results in just one moment before we jump towards and look at some interviews potentially and get some people in and involved. Kev Eilert does come away as your race victor for race 2. Adam Delmont P2, Wayne Douglas P3, Kim Andrew Bjorklund P4, Dan Mull P5, Craig Walters P6, Paddy Falkner P7, Stephen Fry P8, Alan McCain P9, Connor Pearson P10, Deck Crowther P11, JB Deju P12, and John Brown P13, Arthur Thurtle P14, Scott Malcolm P15, Stuart Gibbons P16, Fraser Elphick in P17 there. Then scrolling down the grid, we have Paul Hurley P18, Fraser Garrity P19, Neil Stevenson P20, Mark Draper P21, Anthony Hilton P22, and Chris Barnes P23 overall. Now we're just going to take one moment just to get those results down for the second race there. As we heard Mr. Delmont P1 for the Pro class. Kim Andre Bjorklund in P2 and Dan Mould in P3. And we have Wayne Douglas P1 for the Pro-Ams. Craig Walters P2. And we have Stephen Fry P3. And then heading towards the AM category. Obviously I have Mr. Eilert P1. Then we had JB Deju P2, and then Scott Malcolm P3. Lovely jubbly. So there is all your results then for this evening's racing. Now what we'll do is we'll look towards our Discord, and we'll see that we do have a lovely Adam Delmont to join us. Mr. Delmont, welcome in, sir. How are we doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad at all. Now let's get straight in to the what happened out there on track, because there was a lot going on, and especially for you, which was a very busy race.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, race two was very busy, but yeah, to be fair, I managed to pull off some really, really cool moves that I didn't actually intend on doing, but they worked out.
I mean, they certainly did. It was a fantastic race, and you really were pushing the pace out there tonight as well. You were sort of taking things to a different standard, it seemed, and obviously Dan Mould gave you a hell of a challenge in race one. You two tenths off of each other pretty much for the entire race. How was that sort of feeling? You know, being stuck behind Dan Mould all of race one, going into race two, was that sort of filling you with a bit of a revenge feel? You know, wanting to get one back on him?
To be honest, mate, race one, I knew Dan was quick anyway. In practice through the week, we've both been very, very close. So I knew it were always going to be close with Dan. Dan, through misfortunes and having busy schedules, not really in this season for the championship. So yeah, I had a few nibbles here and there. Poked my nose a few places just to see if I could make anything happen, but it wasn't worth the risk of binning us both off because the closest people in championship were all behind me. So, obviously thinking for the reverse, it'll be nice because it'll put me in front. Because I did feel maybe towards the end of race one, I did feel like I had a bit more stronger pace towards the end. Just couldn't really use it because Dan defended really well. But yeah, race two was just crazy, chaotic fun.
Yeah, it certainly seemed it, and obviously the reverse grid is always a good laugh. But around Brands Hatch, was this a track that's quite high up on your liked courses, or is this a bit more of a challenge for you?
No, I do actually like Brands. To be honest, all the UK tracks I tend to like a lot, like Donny, Brands, Ulton, places like that. They always rank highly with my tracks, just purely from following BTCC from such an early age. So yeah, they always rank highly, and I always seem to do well on them. So yeah.
Yeah, it looked like you were having an absolute blast out there, and a top quality set of results as well. Obviously, you got your race victory for your class there in the second race as well, so some crucial points. But obviously, the next round is the final one of the season, round 8 at Donington Park, unfortunately. But Donington is, obviously, you said you like the UK tracks. Is that higher than Brands Hatch or not?
The national version of it is. I prefer the national. I do actually love the national. It's one of my favourites. The GP bit, those two hairpins just ruin the lap for me. So I'm never normally as strong at the longer version. But to be fair, I think the position I'm taking myself through in, I just need to be sensible. I just need to finish races. It's nice to win every race, but as race one tonight, sometimes it's just wiser just to pick off the points. It's final round, and we'll see how race one goes. If race one goes really well, and my points go somewhere, then race two might be a bit more of a gunner. Let's have it. Let's go for it. See if we can get a double, or if the first one goes well. But yeah, I'll play it by ear and see how it goes. Obviously, Dan's going to be there. He's quick. I don't know if Will's coming back. Will's quick. Wayne's quick. There's Fraser's quick. There's a lot of quick drivers that are all capable of winning. So yeah, I think it's just going to be sensible to start with and see where it goes.
Sounds good, and we look forward to that, seeing you in the final round. But as always, I'll give you the floor and the mic, and you can say all your thank yous and shout outs that you wish.
Yeah, thank you to yourself for the broadcast, Spud, Dan and John and everybody else for the admin and running everything in the background. SRL as a team, Next Gen, and all the associated sponsors and all the drivers. Without them, we don't have anybody to race. And I had a really good race with Wayne. towards the end of that, and a really, really good race in race one with Dan. So hats off to them as well. Really, really good, clean racing.
Well, thank you very much for that. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you on the final round of the season. So, all the best in your practice sessions throughout the week, and we look forward to seeing you very, very soon.
Cheers, buddy. Good night.
Thank you very much. So that was Mr. Delmont, for anyone wondering and not seeing the bottom corner of the screen there. Now let's move on to our second guest, and that is going to be Mr. Paul Hurley. So, Mr. Hurley, welcome in to the booth, sir. How are we?
Hi, Callum. Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. So let's talk about tonight then. Tonight may not have been your night, shall we say?
No, I had a bit of a shocker, mate. I've been I don't want to make excuses, but I've been practicing for the Le Mans event coming up in the GT3. I jumped into the touring car and it just felt like I'd never driven it before. But you know, I hung in there, still points on the table. So I think I've actually gained a position in the league through sticking it out. And what I really want to say is congratulations to my teammate Kev for getting an overall win.
Certainly, and it was a fantastic win at that as well. Some quality results out there, but obviously, like you say, for you, sticking it out, even though you may not be fighting for that P1 victory or anything like that, you stuck it out. You gained the points that you got, and it's gained you a position in the league. So it's all worth it in the end. But yeah, fantastic race overall for your team and teammates. But Brands Hatch is. For me, it's not massively enjoyable. In terms of watching it, it's fantastic, but racing it, I'm not a big fan. But what are your feelings towards it?
Well, you know what? It's actually my local track, and it's a track I've driven around in real world as well. And it's easy, I don't know. It's easier to drive in a real car. I'll say that much. But yeah, it's a cruel mistress. You've got a lot of you've got some off camber bends there. You dip a wheel onto the grass and it's very easy to make a mistake or lose time around there. You've got to be brave around there. And to say I didn't actually put as much practice for this one as I have in the other races, and that showed tonight. Really, I think I'm not normally that far behind. As I say, I've been a bit distracted by the 24-hour event we've got coming up, but I still enjoyed it, mate. This is a fantastic league. If you look up and down the table, the race is very close all the way around. Fair driving, and first season, I'm loving it. I can't look forward. I'm really looking forward to improving, hopefully, and getting more amongst them.
Well, it sounds good. It sounds like we've already sealed the fate for the next season as well for you then, from the way you're talking there. But obviously, one round left in this season to go. One, are you going to be there? And two, Donington Park, how are we feeling?
Right, I'm better at Donington Park than I am around here. Two, I think for my quick maths, I think I might have a 9-point lead over Barnsley, so I'm definitely going to be putting in the hard yards this week to practice and see if I can stay close to him. I might be able to nick that third place in the Arms, but it's a big ask. I'll do my best.
Sounds good. It sounds like it's going to be a tense week of practice for you as well, but nonetheless, something to look forward to, because for a lot of the championship standings, it is going to come down to the final day and possibly even the final race as well. So, yeah, wish you all the best with your practice throughout the week. But as always, I'll give you the floor and give you the chance to shout out and send any thanks to anyone you wish to do so.
Well, look, thanks to everyone at SRL for putting it on. It's a fantastic event, well managed, and say a shout out to my teammates, especially Kevin for winning tonight. That was superb. But he's driven well all season, and he deserves that for an overall win.
He certainly does.
So, yeah.
That was fantastic. I mean, that basically sums up this evening, to be fair. But yeah, a wicked night of racing, and yeah, wish you all.
One last thing.
Yeah.
If there's any doubt that he shouldn't be in the pro-ams, I think there isn't now.
Yeah, that's for certain. Yeah, I think he's going to prove some points out there tonight. But as always, wish you all the best throughout the week, and good luck in your event. You said it was this weekend?
No, it's in a couple of weeks.
Oh, it's in a couple of weeks. Are you streaming said event or?
Kev will be. Yeah, we do a lot of endurance on JASR. We do most of the events, and it's something we enjoy and we take seriously. So you've got to put the practice into that, mate, because one mistake, you've got a lot of people put a lot of time into it, and you don't want to be letting people down through not practicing. So
100%. I've been there
What we do.
before.
Yeah.
I know that feeling. But yeah, obviously, if you want to go and watch that when that event is going on, obviously, please do get involved and get in contact with Kev Islet or Paul Hurley, and you can watch that live with them as well, I imagine. But yeah, wish you all the best with that, and all the best with your practice during the week. And we look forward to seeing you on the final round this season.
Thank you, Callum. See you later, mate.
Thank you, mate. So we are going to bring in the last guest of this evening. Now, this man has put on a fantastic performance tonight. And I'm going to put his replay up. However, even though I'll put his replay up, it's not going to show him overtaking many people because Mr. Islet stayed P1 pretty much from turn 1 all the way to the final corner of the race. So, Mr. Islet, welcome in. A dominant performance for you in race 2.
Don't know how. I think it was just a bit of potluck, to be honest. I just had to get ahead at the first corner and hope everyone battled behind, which I think kind of worked in my favour a little bit because they certainly were bad looking at the relative.
Yeah, it was pretty tense seeing a what I like to call the jaws of the league coming up behind you nice and slowly. Adam Delmont cruising his way through the pack and eventually finishing P2. So you were next on the hit list, but luckily you had a good 2.5 seconds between you and Delmont, I believe, when you crossed the line. But a wicked night of results for you, indeed. And that was P1 in the AMS on the first race. Obviously P2 in the AMS in the second race as well. But obviously that P2 overall has to be something that gives you massive momentum going into the final round of the season at Donington Park next week.
P2 in the AMS? What was P1 in the AMS?
P1 in the AMS, sorry.
Absolutely. I went into this just trying to hope I got a good result out of it, just because I knew it wasn't my fastest track, and I'd seen the times that's what JB Dizu had been doing, and Chris Barnes, and I thought I've just got to... I think I had to drive a little bit aggressively, especially in the first race. I had to make a couple of key moves just to get track position because it is so hard to overtake here. And me and Gibbo had a great couple of laps where we were just kind of toing and throwing, and eventually I think I just sent it in the Druids and just got lucky with a little tap on the rear on the way through. But yeah, no, it's so important to be track position based because it's hard work.
Certainly is. Now I'm going to ask you this question early. I've asked everyone this same one. Donington Park. Obviously, I've asked people how they feel about Brands Hatch. So let's do it in order, in fact. Let's tell me about how you feel Brands Hatch, and then once you've done that, let's move on to Donington Park into the future.
Brands Hatch, tough, enjoyable, roller coaster. That's the best way I put that one. You got to be accurate. That's the thing. Brands Hatch rewards your accuracy. As long as you're smooth and consistent, it worked, and I think that's worked for me. Into Donny GP, I wish it was a national, but that's you can't get what you want. I'm going to have to practice it because it's not a track I race too often. So I'm going to have to put some laps in around there just to see how we go. I know I'm fine on the first 3/4 of a lap. Just got to get the Melbourne loop right and the final corner, and hopefully it'll come together. But I know I've just got to be safe and consistent for the next one. So hopefully Donny will be kind as it is my home race as well.
Oh, well, that's all good then. But you're not the first person to come in here and want the national track. That's already been said tonight, and I think that's more of a favourite amongst most drivers out there on the grid this season. But obviously, that is going to be the final round of the season next week. So any thoughts going into next season of the TCRs? Are we going to be seeing a return of your team?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to say hopefully a fair few of us turn out again. A few of us have been able to make it tonight because we're doing a lot of majors 24 prepping for the race in a couple of weeks. So a few of us being Paul being a diehard as usual. But yeah, we'll definitely be out there next season. I dare say I'll be in a different division. I probably should be. Looking back at some of these results this season. So yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there. We're going to go strong again because that's the aim, and have a bit of a laugh at the same time.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing that. Now, before I give you the floor to basically shout out and say thank you to anyone you wish to do so, the event coming up for you guys in a few, I guess, weeks' time, the 24-hour race. I did mention it in Paul Hurley's interview that obviously they can come watch it live with you guys. But if you don't mind, just give us an idea of where we can catch your team racing on that event.
We'll be racing, obviously, on my YouTube channel, which is Just an Average Sim Racer. So we'll be probably streaming the entire 24-hour from my perspective and from the other guys, depending on who's in the car. So yeah, the link's in somewhere in the SRL channel, and yeah, come watch us in a couple of weeks and attempt not to destroy ourselves in 24 hours. Drive 2 teams. We've got the LMP 2 team and a GT3 team going into it, so a bit of something hopefully for everyone in that one, in what is one of our favourite events of the year.
Sounds good. Well, we look forward to that, and obviously I wish you all the best of luck with it as well. But as always, the floor is yours. Please shout out anyone and give any thanks to anyone you wish to do so.
Big thanks to Paul actually in that last race, because it was quiet in our Discord because there wasn't many of us around. But he started saying, "I'm not going to talk to you because I know you're winning." I went, "No, keep talking to me. Just keep saying stuff because I like that. I like a little bit of background." So thanks Paul for keeping me sane in that last race and just keeping me focused and concentrated.
Well, that's all that needs to be said for that then. So thank you very much for this week's racing, and it was thrilling to see you get that P1 victory overall as well. But we look forward to seeing what you could do in practice during the week, and look forward to those trophies coming up at the end of the season as well. So hope you look forward to that, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Cheers, Cal. Take it easy. See you around.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for all of our interviews. So that leaves you with just me. And, well, as always, once again, fantastic night of racing. Kev Islet, obviously, as you can see on your screen, finished that P1 overall. And just to go over some of the results for tonight, obviously, race 1, we had a race victory for Dan Mould overall, and he won the pro category. Wayne Douglas won the pro category, won the pro am category, sorry, and then Kev Islet won the am category in race 1. Then race 2, we had Adam Delmont, leader of the pros, Wayne Douglas, leader of the pro-ams once again, and Kev Islet, leader of the ams. So the only change for the lead was in the pro category between the 2 races, between Dan Mould and Adam Delmont. The other 2 stayed the same. So fantastic results for them overall, and a great night of racing as always. But we don't go too far because we're only going down the road to Donington, staying within the same country, which is something that doesn't normally happen, well, hasn't done this season, to be fair. But this time we are doing just that. So off to Donington next week for round 8, the final round of the season. So please make sure you are here. Do obviously share, like, and subscribe to the SRL TV channel. We're on 258 subscribers. Let's see if we can hit 260 by the end of the season. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you all then. But make sure you get all your friends involved. It is the season finale, so we're going to try and bring you all the up-to-date action and all the thrills and spills of TCR series throughout that night as well. But for me, that is going to be everything here tonight, and we look forward to seeing you in a week's time for the final round of the season. Do scan the QR code on screen to get in the Discord, and you can talk to any of the SRL team, the drivers, or, well, me, anyone, you know, anyone of your choosing. So, yeah, we hope you all enjoy, and we'll see you again very, very soon for what is more TCR action. Thank you very much, and good night.